You've probably seen those headlines, right? Wife living in adultery, not entitled to maintenance, Delhi High Court.
Oh, yeah. They grab your attention, for sure.
Definitely. But they often really oversimplify what's actually a pretty complex legal situation.
That's exactly it. A single ruling, even if reported factually, can be easily, misunderstood without the bigger legal picture.
Such a crucial point. So today, we're doing a deep dive. We want to unpack the legal reality behind these kinds of rulings in Indian family law.
And focus on how evidence, or importantly, the lack of it, and specific legal interpretations really shape these decisions.
Exactly. We're looking at two recent cases, actually, that seem contradictory on the surface.
Right, to kind of reveal the nuances that often get lost in the noise, give you the full story.
Okay, so to understand these rulings, we need to start with the basics. That's Section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, 1973 of the CRPC. What's its main goal?
Well, its core purpose is humanitarian. It's meant to be a safety net, really, to prevent destitution.
For vulnerable women, right? Including divorced women who haven't remarried.
Precisely. To make sure they aren't left completely without basic support. It's fundamental.
But then there's this clause, Section 125, subsection 4, and it lists conditions where a wife isn't entitled to maintenance.
And the one catching headlines is living in adultery.
So the law gives support, but it can also take it away under certain circumstances. Creates a bit of tension there.
It does. It's this idea that the state's obligation might stop if the person's situation is, let's say, linked to conduct outside the marriage, potentially where someone else might be expected to provide support.
Okay, let's bring in case study 1, the Namrita Agarwal ruling. This is the one that sparked those recent headlines, a Delhi family court decision.
Right. So in this case, the divorced woman's request for maintenance was dismissed. But it wasn't just based on, someone saying something.
No. What was the basis then?
There was really strong evidence presented in court. Yeah. Crucially, an unchallenged DNA test report from earlier divorce proceedings.
And what did that show?
It showed her former husband wasn't the biological father of one of the children. Plus, there was the existing divorce decree itself, which had been granted partly on grounds of her infidelity.
Wow. Okay. So because she didn't contest that DNA evidence or the previous judgment?
The court basically said she had, in effect, admitted to living in adultery for the purposes of this maintenance claim. The evidence was just sitting there uncontested.
But wasn't there another factor, too? Something about her finances?
Yes, absolutely. That was a separate key finding. The judge determined she was financially independent.
How so?
She was earning a sufficient amount, apparently, from various properties. So even aside from the adultery aspect, this independence gave the court another solid reason to deny maintenance.
Which ties back to the law's intent, right? Preventing destitution, not necessarily supporting someone who can support themselves.
Exactly. It's not meant to promote dependency if someone is capable.
Okay, let's pivot to case study 2, the Raju Bose judgment. This also involved the Delhi High Court, but the outcome seems, well, the opposite.
It does seem that way initially. Here, the High Court actually upheld maintenance for the wife, even though the husband was alleging adultery against her.
So what was the difference here? Why affirm maintenance despite the allegation?
Evidence, or rather the complete lack of it. That was the absolute key.
Meaning?
The husband made allegations, sure, but the High Court called them bald allegations. There was, and I quote, no material on record to even prima facie establish, meaning not even enough evidence for a first-glance suggestion that she was in a continuous adulterous relationship.
Just claims, no proof.
Pretty much. And the High Court actually took it a step further.
Oh.
They stated that making such serious, unsupported allegations could itself be considered mental cruelty against the wife.
That's quite a statement. It reinforces the need for actual proof.
Absolutely. It acts as a warning, Don't just throw around serious accusations without backing them up, because that itself can cause harm.
So we have these two cases. One denies maintenance, one grants it, both involving adultery claims. How do we reconcile this apparent contradiction?
The contradiction really melts away when you focus on that one critical factor we keep mentioning. Evidence.
One case had it, the other didn't.
Precisely. Namrita Agarwal had, undeniable proof on the record that wasn't challenged. Raju Bose had effectively zero proof, just accusations. The legal principle itself isn't contradictory. The outcomes just reflect the evidence presented.
And there's also that specific wording in Section 125 for living in adultery. That phrase itself is important, isn't it?
Hugely important. Courts make a clear distinction between maybe a single act of infidelity and living in adultery.
What's the distinction legally?
Living in adultery is generally interpreted as something more continuous, like a quasi-permanent relationship, not just an isolated incident or occasional lapse.
Sort of like an ongoing state.
Yes, the idea being that if someone is essentially living with another partner, that partner might be seen as having taken on or being able to take on financial responsibility. That's the logic, even though adultery itself isn't a crime anymore after the Supreme Court's Joseph Schein ruling in 2018.
Right, it's still a factor in civil matters like divorce and maintenance.
Correct.
And circling back slightly, besides adultery, that factor of financial independence seems really significant too, especially in the Agrawal case.
Definitely. It's another major ground courts consider. Section 125 is fundamentally about need.
Mm.
If a person, particularly someone well-educated and capable of earning, is earning sufficiently, the courts are increasingly saying, okay, you don't meet the criteria for needing maintenance under this specific law.
It reflects a societal shift too, maybe, encouraging self-sufficiency.
I think so. It aligns with the idea that the law is there to prevent genuine hardship, not to disincentivize financial independence.
So pulling it all together, that initial headline, while technically true for that one specific case.
It definitely doesn't paint the whole picture or represent some kind of universal rule.
Context, solid evidence, and how the courts interpret specific phrases like living in adultery, these are absolutely paramount.
It really boils down to the facts and the proof presented in each individual case. One-word evidence can change everything.
It really highlights the responsibility on everyone involved in these cases, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it shows the judiciary doing this balancing act, upholding these foundational humanitarian laws while also adapting their application to, modern realities like financial independence and ensuring fairness based on actual proof.
It leaves you thinking about how the courts constantly navigate that line between protection and personal responsibility in a changing society.
Indeed, a dynamic process.